Hello? Hello? I hope everything's working. Okay, I'm gonna be so real. I have so many screens going on right now. Okay, hang on. Oh, my sister just flushed the toilet. Hey! How we all doing? So I know I said I was streaming this tomorrow, but we're actually doing it today because my thing got canceled. So we can do it today, which is great. So today we are talking. First of all, we hit our last follower goal, which was 160, and I said I would go on a tangent about my OCs. So that's what we're doing today. And then our next goal, once we hit 170, which we're already getting there, I will talk about my song lyrics. I have 4 songs I've written fully that I'm satisfied with, and I will basically genius lyrics them for y'all. And that's what that's gonna be. You made it. Hello, Alice. I have 3 screens going on right now. I have my PC, my laptop with my slides, and my chat. Look, it's you guys. Okay. But the reason why I have my slides not on my PC is because they're all on my laptop. I use LibreOffice instead of PowerPoint because Microsoft's a butt, so I'm using LibreOffice, and I was like, I don't want to try and move all this onto my PC, so they're all on my laptop, and I've got them over on my PC for you guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about how. Magic, that's how. So, so before we get into it, because I think there's gonna be an ad break soon, so I'm not gonna start while there's ads running. Today, everyone doesn't have to worry about being organ snatched. I do still have some people's organs who still haven't reclaimed them, so you know, Mini Mellow Mondays are a great time for you to come in and reclaim any organs I've still snatched, because I only snatch them temporary. I'm not like a permanent organ snatcher like some people out there are. I like return them. So I still have a few. So if you're missing anything, let me know. I'll get it sent to you if you're watching on Twitch or the VOD, which is the only ways you can be watching this because I'm not streaming on TikTok today. But yeah, so anyways, I thought the ads would have started by now, but they haven't, so I'm just like still trying to stall. And I'm also a little bit nervous to be. Okay, so the thing is about this, so I have 4 PowerPoints. I'm only going to show you 3 because there we go. There's the ad break. I have 4 PowerPoints. It used to be one massive PowerPoint, but it was hitting too many slides for me to navigate it well, so I had to split it into 4. I'm only showing you 3 of the slideshows today, and I had to censor a bunch of stuff in the 3rd slideshow because there were spoilers. I'm not telling you anything about the plot other than like beginning and like maybe background stuff. I'm not telling you the storyline because I don't want to spoil it, because my hope is that one day this will be made into a real thing eventually. In my mind, the medium that I see this story in is a webcomic, but I can't draw. So we'll see what happens with this, but maybe I don't know. I could also see it being like a mini series, not a full series, and not a movie. Specifically, a mini series, like maybe 3 or 4 episodes. Very specifically, are that's what I see in my mind with this idea of mine I have, and so I'm I don't know why I'm a little bit nervous. I did go through every single slideshow with one of my friends. I actually went through it with 2 of my friends. One of them I sped run it and I went through all 4 slideshows in like 1.5 hours. The other friend, it took me like I think 2 hours. Well, I think I sped run it in an hour, but then like actually properly going through it took me 2.5. But we're only doing 3 of the 4 PowerPoints today, so maybe we can do it in 1.5. Anyway, so here's my first slideshow, okay? So my idea, the story is called In Essence. If you don't know the phrase, like, oh, in essence, so when you say like in essence, it's basically saying like in short, right? It's a fancy way of saying like in short when you're trying to explain something. In short, in essence means in short. See what I did there? Okay, but essentially this was years ago, I took this phrase and went, oh, but like essence is also like another way, it's another word for your, like your soul, like your being. Like a lot of people will refer to like your soul as your essence, as a person. And I was like, oh my god, what if your soul was not inside your body, but then for some people it was in their body, in essence, haha. And from that pun, a world was born. and and this is the results of my insanity. So this first slideshow here is just, so as it says essence systems, so this is essentially all the systems in surrounding, it's all the like mechanics. So today, by the way, when I say I'm talking about my OCs, this is actually going to be more that I kind of lied. I did lie a little bit. Only one of the 3 slideshows I'm showing you today have to do with my OCs. The rest is world building. And this is very detailed world building. So we're going to be here a hot minute. So everyone just get comfy, okay? I hope you have a drink. I have some water here. Maybe get yourself some water. Maybe have a snack. Maybe have like a little stuffed animal or a real animal if you have pets. Get cozy because we're going to be here for a minute. And there's math in this. Are we ready? Okay, I need to stop stalling. I'm getting nervous. I don't know why. Okay, so first, welcome to class. First, we are going to talk about the systems in my world. All right, so this is to help me navigate, okay? This is why I ended up needing to split this into 4, because I was like, this is unnavigatable. This is really bad. So this helps me navigate. So we have our biology. So essentially like the biology behind your soul, essentially. Essence, which I think was like types, that was like mechanics involving specifically your essence. And then in essence is like the mechanics involving someone who isn't in essence, which we'll get into that. And then systems of like the world overall, and then Veil, which is the essentially like vigilante group that one of my main characters is in. You got an A in A-level maths, you'll be okay. I hope so, because I don't even understand the math, I don't think. Oh, and the other thing is, I haven't looked at these slides before today. Well, I looked at it today to censor things. That's it. I have not looked at these slides in months because I've been too busy to work on this, unfortunately. So we're going to be rediscovering things together, okay? And I'm going to go, wow, I really did all this. And also, a lot of this is okay, basically everything here is either super fleshed out or very half-baked, as you're about to see. So please don't judge. So we're getting into the biology, okay? So the biology section can be broken down into anatomy, mechanics, evolution, and societal evolution. So first we have the anatomy. So basically, how this works is everybody's has 2, I don't know how to pronounce this word. I made this word up. Oh, that's the other thing. I made a lot of words up for this. So anyone who's an etymologist, okay? I think that's how you pronounce that word. Anyone who studies etymology, love you to death. What you do is really interesting. I probably have committed multiple sins with the ways I've been matching prefixes and suffixes together and different like areas of like words from different areas of the world together. I have probably committed so many sins. Please forgive me. Anyway, so basically everyone has 2 pockets. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that word because I kind of hate it and I might want to change it. But everyone has 2 pockets on each bronchus, which I will show you what a bronchus is in a second. It's a part of your lung. And essentially each pocket holds half of this person's essence, their soul, okay? So when an essences are born, or when you're born, the episax, which is essentially a flap on these pockets, opens and it releases the essence. And it's basically just like blank air at this point, okay? It's like an extra pocket of air, I guess, is the best way to say it. Like unseasoned soul, essentially. It's your unseasoned soul in your essence sacs. Okay, and then, but when inessences are born, these are your special people, okay? These people are special. When inessences are born, their episax, the flap, it remains closed, so their essence is not released. Baby's born with 1 episac closed. This is where I started going like, okay, because I wanted there to be like hard science behind this. So I was like, okay, but then technically it's like in real life, right? You'll have these genetic like variances, and there will be some people who, like, if you have two of these pockets, some people, like, one of their episacs will be closed, you know, like, and only half their soul will release. And I was like, okay, so when that happens, they're gonna have to get it surgically open. Has nothing to do with the plot. No one in the plot is a baby getting surgery, okay? But this is just my mindset. I was like, I need to have all this fleshed out in case someone asks, because I want to be prepared. So essentially, if you're a baby born with one of your episacs does not open, you'll have to have it surgically opened, and it's very dangerous and expensive, but necessary because your body's too underdeveloped to stabilize the remaining half. You'll see what I mean by that in a bit. However, inessences can survive with half their essence after they've completed puberty. I didn't know I decided that until I forgot I decided that until right now. It can be done on inessences, but it's especially dangerous. So basically, if both of your flaps are closed and your parents are like, uh-oh, because, by the way, the government does not like inessences. Where the story is set, the government does not like inessences. So you can technically have the surgery to open up both. However, not only is it very, very dangerous and risky, like physically, the surgery is then put in your medical record, which can result in severe consequences for the baby, your parents, and any hospital staff involved, because it's like an illegal surgery essentially. So it's like, if it's put in your medical record that you had some sort of surgery like this, you're gonna be in trouble. Even if they try to, like, and then obviously if they hide it and then people find out, then you'll also get in trouble because that's like medical malpractice or so. I don't know. I made that up. Don't quote me on that. A lot of this is inaccurate. Anyway. And then for babies, because again, then I was like, okay, but then if like only one can be closed, then technically babies can also have like partially closed episac. If your episac's partially closed, it does not affect your essence escaping. It still goes. Okay, so then what happens? So, okay, this is the other thing. A lot of this is organized for me, and I already know how everything works, kind of, already. Like I know the gist of what I want, so for context that you guys need as people who have no clue what's going on, inessences have an ability where they can give their essence to someone else, essentially. So when you're born, your essence is released, it's put in a bottle, you wear that bottle around your neck. I'll go into more detail on that in a second. However, for essences, when that bottle is broken, you literally lose your soul and like die. So inessences have an ability where they can actually give their essence, like they can release the essence from their pocket and give it to someone who lost their essence. So that's why I'm saying, like, if essence is received from an inessence, the episac will be triggered and snapped shut, so then you're now also an inessence. It's like CPR, but with, not CPR. Yes, it's like mouth to mouth, but with souls, okay? Instead of air. Anyway, the giver's essence... What? The giver's essence remains in the unopened episac. I don't know what I meant by that. I have no idea what I meant by that, but anyway, I don't know what that. The essence only enters one of the receiver's episacs, and this is one of the ways that the IHF experiments with essence splitting. I'll explain what the IHF is in a bit. Essentially, you're gonna very swiftly learn this story is also very heavily reflective of the United States. So, as you will see. So that is the anatomy of all this, and then I put pictures together, so you can see it. so you can here. Welcome to biology class, but it's my fictional biology. So these are your bronchus, essentially. They're like these. They're like what goes into your lungs, but then your little essence. Literally, this means sac plus essence, but I don't really like that word. I might change it. We'll see. Not that this word's gonna come up in the story anyway. It's not, but I made it up. I'm glad I'm not the only one who writes things and then doesn't understand them later. I don't know what I was talking about in there. Wait till we get to the math slide. I'm really not gonna know what I was talking about. But so that each bronchus has a pocket attached, and then so this is like from like if you slice the bronchus level, so you can see like the pockets on top, and then your essence is inside, and the episac is essentially like an opening into your bronchus, so that when it releases into your bronchus, and then you exhale it out through your mouth. Is this actually, this is kind of important to this is actually important to the story. I actually do need to know this for the story. I don't necessarily need to know the body parts names, but I need to know like how it's anyway. But that's the anatomy of this. Okay, next we have the mechanics. You thought that was mechanics? No. This is about like the essence itself, okay? So essence is pure white with a slight glow, okay? I guess is what I decided on. And it's very similar to a gas, so it's in the bottle, it like lightly swirls and it flows around, but when it's released it moves as one mass rather than like disintegrating in multiple molecules the way gas actually does. So when babies are born, their first inhale creates their essence. So basically, like I said, like in your pockets is essentially like, it's like the baseline for your soul to be created. So when you inhale, that air is like pushed into them, and then it like makes the soul, and then it exits, if that makes sense. And then their first cry expels their essence, and that's captured in a bottle and worn around their neck. So essentially, I thought so hard about this. So an oxygen mask with a tube is attached to the baby's mouth, and then the other end of the tube is sealed to a bottle. So when they exhale, it goes straight into the bottle, so there's no risk of them losing their soul and dying. And then it's like sealed, essentially. And then do you see? I went far more in depth into how this is done than I needed to, because no one's giving birth in this story, so you don't really need to know all of this. At least I don't think you will. And again, this is my first time looking at this in a while, so I don't even remember what I wrote. Once the essence is transferred, both sides of the tube are sealed shut with the episac. Oh, wait, that's a me. I just made that change and I changed it wrong. Hang on, I can fix it. Actually, no, I can't, not right now. Okay, that's what I meant by twist flap thingy. I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't read the whole sentence. I thought I forgot to replace that with episac. It's not shut with an episac. It basically like seals. And then if you have a glass bottle, the neck is heated, pinched shut, and then the tube removed, and the lid is shaped. So basically like glasswork. But if you have like a metal cap, the tube is carefully removed and replaced by a metal plug, and then the neck is heated to seal glass to metal. So it's like, I'm not doing that actually. Numerous essence is not blank, but it's barely connected. So basically my issue with this, this was a very specific issue, was I didn't want people to be able to make a pro-life argument off of my thing as someone who is pro-choice, so I didn't want to do the whole, like, you already have your soul when you, like, I didn't want someone trying to twist this into some pro-life thing, essentially. So that's why I very specifically wrote this, so that, because your essence is built off of your experiences anyway, so I specifically wrote this so that your soul isn't formed until you take that first breath, essentially. Like, your soul isn't, like, solidified until you take that first breath, because I didn't want people trying to argue like that I was pro-life, because I'm not. I'm pro-choice. Like, don't get it twisted, okay? So that was a very specific issue I had that I had to solve, and I did. Okay, moving on. Oh, there's more. Okay, so in essence, guys, I really did not look at this beforehand, other than to make sure I had to censor things, make sure if there's anything I had to censor. Okay, so for in essences, there is a 0.001% chance that you don't expel your essence at birth, so 1 in every 1,000 births. And then an in essence's essence cannot be stolen or destroyed because it's in their bodies. So it's not like the glass bottles where you can like rip it off their neck or like smash it and then their soul's gone, you know what I mean? So that's why in essences are like so special, because not only can they literally share their soul with somebody, but their souls can't be destroyed. And then, okay, like, that was what I was saying earlier, the essences, I like how I'm pointing. The essences can split their soul because their essence is stored internally. The halved essence can restabilize, allowing in essences to survive with a shared essence. Homeostasis or whatever. Bottled essence doesn't have the ability to stabilize because those mechanics are done biologically, or at least in a way or at least a way to do so hasn't been discovered, hence the testing. So again, there's like government testing on essences, if you haven't picked up on that, because I didn't say it. So if you did pick up on it, that's my bad for not saying it. So basically, this allows essences to save someone whose bottle was destroyed by breathing their essence into them. By exhaling their essence, not breathing their essence into them. That's not how that works. But like I said, it's like magical mouth to mouth, but with your souls. So this can be, so basically an essence releasing their essence can be triggered internally, like an intentional cough, or externally, like the Heimlich. Except you can't Heimlich someone's soul out of them. That was just for my own personal, like, mechanically how this works physically, so I would know. And then splitting essence is exhausting for the giver because you're giving up half your soul, so obviously it's going to be exhausting. So there's that. Oh, so now we get into the evolution of it all. This is where I realized I actually created basically double racism in my story, because I was like, oh, well, this, and then this is what happens in society, and that's why essences are like discriminated against. And I was like, that's literally how racism developed. So I basically have double racism in my story. Oops. Anyway. So, once upon a time, around 7 to 8 billion years ago. Why did I pick 7 to 8 billion years? I'm sure there was a reason. Probably something to do with hominids, is my guess based on this picture I put in. Oh, okay, I see what I did. Okay, so essentially what I did was I made essence one of the, like, I'm not saying that chimpanzees and bonobos don't have souls. I don't know if they probably do. But what I mean is that the act of, like, physically having a soul you exhale, that is a difference between, okay, I'm starting to remember what I did. And now I'm seeing where the double racism comes in. Okay, so essentially, the whole, like, humans being able to exhale their souls, that was developed when hominins were separated from chimpanzees and bonobos. So that's why it was developed 7 to 8 million years ago. And it's one of the traits that separated, yeah, that's what I said. One of the traits that separated hominins from chimpanzees and bonobos. Guys, my biology class was so helpful for this. My singular biology class I took in college. So initially, essence typically released across a being's lifespan. So essentially, rather than your essence like immediately releasing when you're born, it was very slowly release as you lived, so that when you died, it was because you ran out of soul. Essentially, you ran out of battery. Lifespans increased as cognitive abilities increased. And then with that, with the increase in cognitive abilities and the increase of, like, tool usage, they figured out how to capture their essence, because they were able to use these tools to make things to capture the essence to expand their lifespan even more, if that makes sense. Let me know if I'm not making sense, guys, because this all makes sense to me because I wrote the thing. If I'm not making sense, let me know. As capturing essence became common practice and essence containers improved, the release of essence became increasingly immediate. So basically, through evolution, their bodies were like, oh, we actually don't need to hold on to your essence as long because y'all got this. So we'll just let it all out now, I guess. Evolution. I don't know if that's actually how evolution works, but this is my fictional world, so yes, it is. Due to various factors, Homo sapiens survived with their essence release occurring at birth. I love that super vague, due to various factors. Okay, the factors I'm guessing are like the tools and the da-da-da-da, you know. Okay, so that's the evolution, which leads to the societal evolution, which is where the double racism comes in. So having an essence separates humans from great apes. However, inessences have always occurred. So two general beliefs formed about inessences. So basically there were two teams. You were either team essences are above human, for example, deities or offspring of deities, so like demigods essentially, or that inessences are closer to great apes than humans. They were initially believed to not have an essence. We can't see it, therefore it doesn't exist. So essentially being like, oh, because you don't have an essence that you like carry in a bottle around your neck, that means you're basically like, you're closer to great apes than humans, so you are inferior. So that whole mindset. So literally racism. So, certain climates are more likely to have inessences due to greater risk of external harm. That's something I need to do more research on. So, please hold on that. Colonialism. This is literally just racism repackaged, guys. I cannot lie. This is racism repackaged. Disease wipes out indigenous populations, many of whom happen to have larger numbers of inessences. I think that's why I was... Anyway, millions of inessences were enslaved with they're basically animals because they don't have essences like us excuse. This is quite literally racism. I basically simplified racism down to just two groups. That is what I have done here. Except then our actual modern day racism still also kind of exists in this world. It's not a big topic, but it is like underlyingly there. So that's why my story has double racism. Anyways, so fast forward a couple thousand years, most countries have shifted to in essence positive or are in the process of shifting over to being in essence positive. However, anti-in-essence rhetoric still runs rampant, especially in places like Ophobane, which is where the story takes place, thanks to good old-fashioned propaganda, fear-mongering, and etc. See how this is a reflection of the United States? Okay, you'll never believe what Ophobane is based off of. Okay, now we get into essence. Oh, not the math. Not the math. Hang on, guys. I need a water break. Everybody, take a drink of water right now. And if you don't have water, get some. I'll wait. Okay, cheers. So, guys, we're still on the first PowerPoint. We're still on the first PowerPoint. It's only been 27 minutes. We're fine. Oh, I just hit the wrong computer screen. Okay, or wrong keyboard. Okay, so. Okay, that was me trying to figure out what I'm talking about here. Okay, so. There are multiple types of essences. Okay, we're not looking at the math yet. So there are basically two main types of essences. There is claimed essence and there's blank essence. So claimed essence is essence connected to the receiver. So again, this is done through their memories, through their experiences. Connects emotions to their experiences, forming their soul. So basically your experience plus your emotions equals your soul. Okay? Connecting to previously claimed essence takes time. So remember how I said your essence can be stolen? Right? So there are people who will steal other people's essences. And if you have a stolen essence, it's going to take time to connect to this previously claimed essence, because that essence still has the emotions and the experiences, and it was still formed from its original owner. So during this period of essentially like transferring this essence from that previous owner to you, the receiver feels whatever emotion the previous owner experienced the most. This is in quotes and in red because I haven't decided if this is the terminology I want to use. It might end up just being that because I've gotten used to it. Connection period and strength of emotions depend on how connected the essence is to the previous owner. This is where the math comes in the next slide that I might not be able to explain. I might have to think about it for a second. But anyway, this makes claimed essences a gamble because you can experience anything from overwhelming joy to violent anger to extreme anxiety. It all depends on what that previous owner felt the strongest or felt the most their whole life. And then there's blank essence, which is bottled essence that is not connected to anyone, which means the previous owner is deceased. They ain't alive anymore. There's nothing for the soul to be tethered to. So you could kill someone to get blank essence, but people typically don't do that because it's literally one of the most inconvenient ways to get essence. People also tend to have some level of morality. It's a lot of like just, it's unnecessary, okay? You just don't, there's, at that point, you might as well just use claimed essence rather than try to kill a man, you know what I mean? Anyway. But blank essence immediately connects to the receiver, which makes it the most expensive essence on the market, specifically the black market. You cannot just buy souls in the supermarket. That's not how this works. But this is often used by the wealthy. Obviously. My neighbor's dog agrees. I can hear him barking. Okay, guys, give me a second. I have to figure out what I meant by this. Actually, no, I'm going to talk through it. I think that'll help. Okay, so your disconnection period is 1 day per years old. So if you're 15 is really young. If you are 25 years old, it will take you, and someone steals your essence, it will take 25 days for you to die, essentially, for the soul to completely disconnect. So that your connection period obviously is going to be 1 day per each year of the previous owner's age. So say that you stole someone's essence who was 25, it's going to take you 25 days to connect. That just makes sense, okay? Because as they're disconnecting, you're connecting, you know? So it's like, woo. Okay, so does that make sense? This is where y'all are really going to have to let me know if I'm not making sense, because I might not even make sense to myself. Okay, so strength, I think, refers to the strength of... Yes, strength refers to the strength of the emotion. So, let's figure out together what this math means, because I don't entirely know. Okay, so say the disconnection period is 25 days, which means the connection period is also 25 days. So the strength of the emotions equals the remaining disconnection period divided by the total connection period. So if the person was the previous owner was 25 years old. Guys, I sat here figuring all of this out. There are, like, because this is something I had to figure out too for my story. I had to figure out the timing of all of this. And I sat here being like, what is a reasonable, like, I think I was actually walking somewhere while I was trying to figure this out. And then I figured out the math while I was walking. And the second I got to where I was going, I like quickly pulled out my laptop and wrote down everything I thought of. And I think I like even pulled up a calculator to make sure everything mathed correctly. It was a whole thing. Anyway, I'm like now remembering how I wrote all this. Anyway, okay, so essentially, if the disconnection period is 25 days, which means that your total connection period is 25 days. So 25 divided by 25 is 1. So it's going to be 100% strength. So you are going to feel their strongest emotion at like 100%. So if they only felt joy, you're only going to feel joy for like that first day, right? Okay, but let's say that you are now, the disconnection period is now 5 days. Okay, so whether you got it at this point or you've had it for the last 20 days, it now goes down to 20% strength. So now you only feel like 20% of that extreme joy, and you have 80% of like your emotions, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. It makes more sense to me than I thought it would. I'm glad I remember what I meant by all of this. So strength decreases as time passes. So if you start connecting when the disconnection period is 25, after 20 days, it's 20%. Yeah, so what I just said, essentially, I put the math into a sentence, essentially. Hopefully this is making sense. I need you guys to stop me if this is not making sense. For bought or stolen bottles with new owners... Whoa, okay, I don't know what I meant by this, hang on. Oh, okay, no, I see what I mean, okay. So this was again what I was okay, so essentially, right, if you were from scratch, like you ripped someone's soul off their body and you put it on right this instant, right, then you would have to go through this whole process of starting out at 100% strength and then decreasing until it's 0%. However, if you bought a stolen bottle from someone, or you stole a bottle and you didn't put it on immediately, right, if you bought a bottle, don't worry, I'm understanding if this is any reassurance. Thank you, Alice. I need someone to just check in every so often and be like, yes, this is making sense. Okay, so if you bought a bottle, let's say this is, the souls are not this size. They're like this size. This is like the size I picture the bottles being with your soul in them, okay? So let's say you bought you bought a bottle, okay? And this bottle has been sitting on the shelves in some secret warehouse for the last 20 days, okay? And it's still that same 25-year-old. But now there's 5 days left of their disconnection period. When you get it, your connection period is only gonna be 5 days long because they have 5 days left to live. So then you're only gonna feel that 20% because it's already almost out, you know what I mean? The hand sanitizer is almost gone and you just gotta use up the rest of it. That's not a good analogy, but it's because I'm holding hand sanitizer. Ooh. Guys, it's ASMR. This is so much more liquidy. Why is it so liquidy? Okay, anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so that's the essence math. Okay, that's the math of figuring out how long it takes you to lose your soul and to connect to someone else's soul. I had to figure that out for the story. Don't worry about it. However, if you're in essence and you split your soul with someone, here's the math for that, okay? Okay, so I like how there was an ad break right when I was doing the ASMR portion. Anyway, so split recovery time. So if you split your soul with someone, it is going to take you your age divided by 2 amount of days to recover. So if you are, for example, 20 years old, it's going to take you 10 days to recover after you give half your soul to somebody. But then the issue is, as in essence, if you end up disconnected from your soul, rather than being 1 day per year old, it's going to be halved because you've already because they can survive with half their soul, right? But then if they lose that second half, it takes half the time for them to, because they only have half their soul. Like so it's just math, guys, okay? So if you're 20 and you lose half your soul, you have 10 days to recover from that before you're like, okay, I feel like I'm myself again. I don't feel like dizzy and whatever. Because there are like symptoms to giving your soul up to half your soul up to somebody. But then say some incident happens where you lose your other half. Well, now you're gonna be dead in 10 days, so that's the math. Moving on. Oh, and now we're talking about types of deaths. So there are numerous types of deaths. Ways you could die from losing your soul. So first, your bottle can be broken. If your bottle is broken, the essence is released and the person dies a very painful 5-ish minute death because your soul is gone. She's in the sky, she is gone. You ain't getting that back, okay? There's no catching her. However, if your bottle is leaking, basically, like I said, your essence moves as one mass. So it all escapes at once. So if you get like a hair sliver of a crack in your bottle, it will like slowly like exit through the crack, but there is a chance of you being able to like catch it. Like if you like pin the essence down, right? If you like seal the crack, you can like basically slow it down. But you will need to successfully transfer it into a new bottle and seal it without breaking the old one, because then you'll release it all and then you have 5 minutes. Did you know you have 5 minutes? Anyway, so that's death type number 1. Death type number 2, your bottle is stolen. That's all the math we just went through, okay? So you have until your essence disconnects to get it back. So the older you are, the more connected you are to your essence, obviously. As each day passes, as you get disconnected, it grows increasingly painful, making it difficult to function. A person during the end of their connection will require assistance to do basically everything. They will not be able to move. They will not be able to eat on their own. Like, they will need full assistance. But the reason why the broken bottle is 5-ish minutes is because, like I said, your soul's gone. She's in the atmosphere. She ain't here anymore. There's nothing tethering it to anything. It's gone. So then you just like, it just floats away like a balloon, except it never comes back down and litters the earth. Okay, anyway. A botch bottle. So, the person has until their essence disconnects to get it back. So essentially, if you... I don't think that's supposed to say that sentence there. Cause oh, no. I think I'm saying the death is the same. So if your bottle was stolen and then it was bought, you have until your essence disconnects to get it back. That's still the same. Like, you still have that time period of all the math we did to get it back. For the person who bought the essence will have to be successfully transferred into a new bottle. Because typically the old bottles will have some form of identification on it to be like, this is this person's bottle. So it's for like, yeah, so you'll have to, the bottle itself doesn't matter, but the receiver will typically transfer the essence into a new bottle because they're using stolen essence. So it's basically like, you stole another person's soul and you don't want to get caught wearing someone else's soul, so you gotta move that, okay, so you don't get caught. Which is another reason why all of this is just so risky. We're just playing with souls over here, you know. It gets dangerous. It's like open heart surgery, but not at all, actually. And then for it, in essence, you have until your essence disconnects to get half of it back. Only occurs if both halves of their essences are taken. The likelihood of getting it back after taking is slim to none, because essentially, as an essence, if you lose both your halves, your choices are for someone to somehow reinsert half your soul back into you, or for another in essence to give up half their soul for you. Those are your two options. And I hate using the term reinsertion, but I don't have another word for it right now. But reinsertion has not been figured out yet. No one knows how to do that. So basically, your only choice is finding another in essence to give up half their soul to you. So yeah. Okay, so that's all the different types of deaths. And then I got a little bit into the bottles themselves, because I needed to know that. Obviously, the wealthier you are, the sturdier your bottle is, and the poorer you are, the more fragile you are. The bottle is, and you, I guess, then in that case. I looked up really strong glasses, and I found that laminated glass is like one of the strongest ones, but I don't know how that glass can be shaped. There's, for some reason, no information on how laminated glass can be shaped. So still kind of looking into that. If anyone knows anything about glass, hit me up. Let me know. And then, like, obviously chain necklaces versus string. So then, like, if you're wealthier, you have a chain necklace, it's not as easy to just, like, remove your bottle from you. Whereas if you have, like, string or rope, people could just, like, cut it and run with your soul, you know? So it's like that. Bottles and necklaces are customized for identification purposes, like I said. So if your bottle is stolen, you can hire someone to find it, and you can identify which essence is yours as long as it's still in your bottle. So the wealthier you are, people have, like, customly, like, shaped bottles and like, fancy lids and blah, 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 blah. Whereas if you are less wealthy, if you're poor, you'll, like, write a permanent marker across it, or, like, have your initial crudely carved in the lid, like, that kind of thing. Lids are sealed onto the bottles. The most expensive and secure option is having a glass lid. I already went over this, which is essentially like the top of the bottle is completely sealed by belting the top of the neck closed. So it's just, like, completely sealed off. Most people receive metal lids welded into the neck of the bottle like a cork. And in desperate times, a metal lid tamped onto the bottle works temporarily, like a glass soda bottle. Yes. That's all. That's just that stuff. Okay, now we get into in essences. I don't have a term for soulmates yet. I might just keep it as soulmates. We will see what happens. So if an in essence saves someone, that person also becomes an in essence, because again, you are doing this transfer through mouth to mouth. Okay, so same adjustment period mechanics as a bottled essence. So essentially, what do I mean by that? I don't know. Oh, okay, so as an in essence, when you give your soul, it only takes you half the days to adjust to that. But if you are someone who was not an in essence and you receive essence into your body, it's going to take you the same amount of time it would as if you received bottle essence to adjust, because your body's not used to having your soul inside of you. So essentially, again, if you're a 20-year-old in essence, gives their essence to someone who is not initially an essence, okay? This person takes 10 days to recover. This person takes 20. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope that does. The shared essence links the two people together, so they're soulmates. Oh my god. Ah, okay. And then they can feel each other's emotions. They don't share emotions. Okay, that is the key thing. It isn't like, oh, now we are one and the same. When you're happy, I'm happy. No, it's like you two could be feeling completely different emotions. One could be incredibly anxious, while one is incredibly excited. Okay, now those two are too similar. Someone could be very, very happy, and someone could be very depressy spaghetti. Okay. And you are, like, because your souls are connected and, like, emotions are so involved, you can tell that the other person is depressy spaghetti and the other person's really happy, but that doesn't necessarily affect your own emotions. Now, if you're an empath, you'll probably feel sad for that person, especially since they're your soulmate. But it doesn't, like, it isn't necessary. You don't now are, like, you aren't, like, now both just same emotions all the time. Okay, you still are an individual with individual emotions, but you can now like sense the other person's emotions. Like you're an empath for that specific person, you know? Okay. In essence, can technically save two people, but they will die. So again, like if you lose both your halves, you're donezo. But you could sacrifice yourself for two people if you wanted to. Or if you didn't want to and you were forced to. New soulmates will experience new soulmates will experience the following symptoms as their bodies stabilize the essence: dizziness, shortness of breath, exhaustion, moodiness, and an intense mix of emotions. If you are experiencing any of these things, please talk to a physician. That's what that reads as to me. Anyway, it'll take time for them to learn how to separate their emotions from their soulmates. So like there will be a period of time where you are kind of like, oh my god, are we sharing emotions? But like you will, it's just that adjustment period, okay? You know, it's there's gonna be an adjustment period. You just shared your soul with somebody, literally. It's gonna take some time, okay? You know, like any medical transfusion. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna stop. Okay, moving on. Fake essence. So, guys, I think we're almost done with this. No, we're not actually. We're getting there with this first PowerPoint. The second PowerPoint's really short because there's like barely any information in it because it's a bunch of stuff I was procrastinating. And I'm still procrastinating in a way. Anyway, so for fake essences. So in essences, again, depending on where you live, may not be accepted in society. So if that is the case, like in Ophobane where the story is set, in essences who cannot afford to flee, specifically in Ophobane, wear fake essence bottles. So when you're bored, if you're bored in essence, you just kind of had to hope that your nurses and doctors won't report you to the government and that they got you and your parents' backs, okay? And if you're lucky, they won't report you to the government and they'll provide you with a fake bottle, typically the cheapest option, because usually, you know, they're doctors and they're like have multiple patients, These fake bottles can only be obtained through specific groups. These are groups at the black market. Doctors will tell mothers of essences, I should say parents. That is such a, mothers is such a restricting term. Guys, that was so very, parents. Okay, anyway, doctors. Some people might say I'm being too woke about this, but we're trying to be accepting of all, okay? Not everyone who has a baby is a mother, okay? Anyway, doctors will tell parents of essences how to reach one of these groups. Because listen, words are important, okay? Anyway, doctors will tell parents of essences how to reach one of these groups. May also be found through groups like Veil, which is the group that two of my characters are in. But so essentially like these groups, so Veil is a group that essentially they deal with stolen essences, but in like a good way. So technically you could go to a group that deals with like essence trading / essence retrieval, whatever you want to refer to it as. But the chances are to find a group that does the like fake essences, the counterfeit essences. But the chances are slimmer and riskier because those groups might not be good people and they might rat you out to the government for money or something. You know what I mean? Anyways, so a harmless gas that is very similar in color to essence is sealed in the bottle. What gas? Girl, I don't know. Maybe the doctor farts in a bottle. That's not true at all. But it's some sort of gas, okay? And I don't think that's necessary for me to know. But if anyone knows a white colored gas that faintly glows, let me know. I don't think that's a thing, but let me know. You can tell it's fake if you look close enough. And you can also tell when the bottle breaks that's fake because it will leak out like a normal gas instead of like the one big whooshing lump. Not lump, but it won't be like, ooh, all magical, whatever, but it's actually really scary. Because that's your soul going missing. But this will be more just like gas, you know? Guys, me trying to explain this late in the night after I've worked all day is not going well. Anyway, especially after the day I've had. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, we're getting towards the end of this PowerPoint. So systems. This is where we get into the more government society thingies, okay? So remember how I mentioned the IHF earlier? The IHF are the in-essence housing facilities. These are located in Ophobane, where the story is set, and there are 2 locations, one on either end of the country, including Fulsker, which is, I believe Fulsker is the capital country of capital of the country. It's the capital of the country is Folsker, Ophobane. So there are two, in essence, housing facilities. The one we are more concerned with is the one in Folsker. So this was my rough hierarchy of how these facilities work. We don't need to worry about that. So in essences are brought in by the In Essence Relocation Task Force, or the IRTF. So essentially what the IRTF does is when they get a call that there's an essence, or they'll be like in the streets, just like hunting for in essences, they'll bring them in. They'll basically, what's the word? They'll capture them. That's not the word I'm looking for. There's a more official legal term I'm looking for, but it escapes me right now. But they will capture these in essences and they will bring them to an IHF, an in essence housing facility. Does this sound familiar? I want you to keep in mind, I wrote this before a certain group in the United States has been doing the stuff they've been doing. I wrote this before that went as bad as it's been right now, okay? Anyway. So basically the IRTF brings in essences into the IHF, so the in essence housing facilities, and in these facilities the in essences are being experimented on. So they are being tested to see, like, how are they splitting their souls? How are they storing their souls? Autopsies are done on deceased in essences to kind of, like, explore them biologically, like explore what is happening in their bodies that's different from a normal person's body. Exploratory surgery is also done on living in essences, which is really creepy. So that's how they're experimenting on, or like testing and researching in essence splitting and storage. For in essence splitting specifically, they are trying to test if essence can be split further than just in half. And there's also attempts to replicate in essence splits on bottled essence. How they're getting this bottled essence, it is either through the black market, or they are forcing people with essences, they are forcing in essences to give it up. And then they're also testing in essence soulmates' abilities and limits. So when you have a soulmate, you know, we have the connected emotions. Is there anything else we could do with this? Essentially, basically, like, try to test if they're basically superheroes or whatever. Really freaky stuff. In essences may also be forced to give up their essence to save someone of higher power, like one of the characters had to do. Nick is not one of the main characters, I fear, but he's important to the story. But yeah, so that's what this is. And now how the black market works. So the black market all started once upon a time. A wealthy politician hired a group to steal his wealthy opponent's bottle. His opponent hired a different group to steal it back, and both groups made a lot of money from it, and a new illegal economy was formed. Da 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 da. So the less connected an essence is, as I said earlier, the higher its value. So groups will track when essences were stolen to estimate its level of connectedness, and then base their prices on that. Some groups lie to upcharge, especially resellers. So these are groups that buy essence from other groups and then they resell them, if that makes sense. And then they'll lie and be like, oh, this one only has like 2 days left of its connectedness period, so I'm going to charge you quadrillion dollars. But then in reality, it has like 20 days left. You know what I mean? And then again, blank essence is the most valuable because there's nothing connected to it. That probably costs like bajillion dollars. So some groups steal real essences and sell them to other people missing essences, or to wealthy people, and then a lot of wealthy people will resell the essences at high cost to those living in poverty. So it's like a terrible cycle, you know? Does this sound familiar? Anyway, other groups create fake essences and sell them to in-essences, hospitals, and other advocacy/rebel groups. Some will also hunt people's essences down specifically to return it to them. So like you can hire someone to find your essence and return it to you. But you need to be careful because the government creates fake groups like this to capture more in essences. So they'll create fake, like, counterfeit essence groups to lure in people who need these fake bottles to capture them, to bring them to the IHFs. Does this make sense? Okay, great. I'm just gonna assume it does. So these are our groups. These are the categories. The only ones you really need to worry about are Veil, which is the group that two of my characters are in, Gavin and Red. There are resellers groups, There's one group called the Wolves, and for a second I was like, why did I call them this? They're the group that steals or breaks Lila's essence. I'll get into that in a bit. And then you have your fake in essence groups, and then you have your like actual fake groups, which are like government spies essentially. Prismoth, do your homework. I don't know if you're watching right now. Do your homework. Do your homework. Do your homework right now. I don't know if you're watching right now, but you were talking in the Discord, and I'm telling you to do your homework. And if you're watching the VOD later, do your homework. Guys, education's important, okay? Do your homework. So now we're gonna get to Veil a little bit. This is where I start to get into really not fleshed out territory. This is also the last category of this PowerPoint, if I remember correctly. So this is the hierarchy of Veil. So there's the leader who makes sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, and they organize the orders they get. Veil, by the way, is specifically a group that will hunt down. Veil, like I said, is more of like a vigilante group, so they will try to retrieve essences from like the bad groups, and then they will store them and they will try to reconnect them with their owner. People also will come to them, or they have people who know. They're you know when like people say like, oh, I know a guy who knows a guy? Veil is the guy that the guy of the guy knows, if that makes sense. Okay, so the guy will go to the guy who knows a guy, and that guy is Veil. Okay, so sometimes there will be like, oh, my essence was stolen, can you get it back for me? And they're like, yes, I know a guy who knows a guy. And they'll be like, hey guy, can you talk to your guy about getting this person's soul back? And they'll be like, yeah, let me go talk to my guy. And then they'll go talk to Veil, and Veil will be like, yeah, I got you. And then they'll give it to the guy who will give it to the guy who will give it back to the person. Actually, no, they'll probably just go give it to the person, but in like some sneaky way. Anyway, but that's who Veil is, okay? They're the guy of the guy who knows a guy. So yeah, so there's the leader who makes sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, and they organize all the orders that they get. They mainly stay in the headquarters and only really leaves to handle particular customers and conflicts. Then you have your dealers who manage order intake, prices, and bargaining. They're the point of contact for all their orders, and they hang out in the same few spots kind of at various times of the day, you know, but they're like smart about it. But you make your order with them, set the price, then seal the deal. Then you have your handlers who take care of the bottles in the headquarters. They organize and store every bottle that comes in, and they track the approximate age of the bottle and any order information they have, and then they prepare the orders to be sent out. And then you have your runners who pick up and deliver bottles and messages. Depending on the owner, they might be paired with the dealer. So that's the role and the hierarchy of how Veil works. Okay, then this is where I don't really have things fleshed out. So everyone has code names. I realize they probably want burner phones for business, so that's that. And then we have our terms. So Veil, the definition of a veil is something that covers, separates, screens, or conceals, or it also means like protection, mystery, and transformation. However, at some point, someone will be like, does Veil stand for something? And someone else will be like, yeah, it stands for Vigilante Essence Identity Locators. And they mean that as a joke, because Veil does not stand for anything. It is more the definition of the word and not like, oh, V-E-I-L. But isn't that such a good acronym? I came up with it myself. Anyway, so Wraith is someone living off of another person's essence. So if you are someone with a stolen essence, Veil will call you a Wraith. I forget what the exact definition of a Wraith is. I'm going to look it up right now just for you. Give me a second. It's very specific to, I believe, Scottish mythology. Oh, it took away the screen when I started looking things. Why? Why is it black? Okay, I'll look it up on my phone. I'm just kidding. Wow, I spelled that correctly. I wrote weeth. With. Not D&D. Here we go, mythology.net. A type of Scottish ghost. Hang on, I'll use Merriam-Webster. Maybe. Okay, here we go, I found it. We're looking at a fandom wiki. A type of ghost or spirit Traditionally said to be the embodiment of souls who are either on the verge of death or who have recently passed on. And it's a name that originates from Scottish folklore. So essentially taking the essence of like what a folklore wraith is, of like being the soul of another person on the verge of death. Do we see the connection there? So this person's living off another person's. Okay, anyway. The mutts is their term for the wolves. They're just like, oh yeah, the mutts. They're mutts. Like that's like what Vale calls the wolves. And then I needed to also figure out slurs for people who are in essences that people will call them, and the only thing I have is innie. But doesn't that sound like a slur? I really hope it's not a real slur. I apologize if it is. Please let me know if it is. But I don't think it is, because people say like, you have an innie, like a innie belly button, like an innie or an outie. That's what I was thinking. But anyway, yeah. So I need to come up with more slurs. So let me know if you come up with a slur, guys, for in essences, and make sure it's not a real life slur. Okay, so that's everything here. That was presentation number 1. Oh, I just realized I think the screen's been like sideways the whole time. Wait, no, I just moved something. What did I just... Nope, we're good. That's this screen. Okay. So that's presentation number 1. Let me grab presentation number 2. Presentation number 2 is not going to be as long. Presentation number 3 is gonna be long. And I'm skipping 4 because y'all don't get spoilers like that. I'm not handing out spoilers like that. That's what that makes me think of. Die in the blood where you bathe. No, I keep hitting the wrong thing. Okay, now you guys know what I'm using to... It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why don't this go away? Wait, I have to do it again. Start from... Is it sharing? No, it's not. Okay, now you guys know what I'm using. Now you guys know what I'm using. Alright, there we go. I'm using Google Meet to do this. Okay. Okay, are we ready? You have to say, this makes a whole lot more sense than your lore. You have so many gaps. Okay, but wait till you get... This is just the world building. Wait till you get to the actual plot, because I have so many spots where I'm like... There's like nothing. I have a very overarching plot. I don't have any of the details fleshed out for the plot. So, because I've just been focusing on world building. Okay. Now we get into world building, but this is like the actual world itself, okay? And this is where I've been procrastinating, so there's a lot of big blank slides. Also, this part took me so long, and this is, again, where I committed many sins. For all my etymologists out there, my etymology fans, this is where I committed many sins, and I do apologize and beg for your forgiveness. But I'm gonna keep doing it anyway, so... Okay, so we're gonna talk about Earth. So Earth is like actual Earth, but different, like Atla. So I was like, okay, you know how in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Earth is Earth, but it's not like our Earth. It's like that. Okay, it's smaller. There are fewer continents that are relatively close together, and there are 6 countries. So in the whole wide world, there are 6 countries loosely based on the primary emotions: fear, joy, anger, sadness, disgust, and surprise. I just punched myself in the face. I didn't punch myself, I like hit my glasses. Anyway, the capital states of each country are the secondary emotions, and then the capital cities within the capital states, excuse me, are the tertiary emotions. So, and then those are like the emotions I picked out, and that's like the emotion wheel, okay? Me and the emotion wheel go way back when it comes to writing. Anyway. And then I made the actual world. So these are the maps I made. So first we have our just like country map. So you can see we have our 6 countries. Okay. And then this is it broken down into states. I will get into the number of states in a minute. Fulsker is Opalbane, and specifically Fulsker, and even more specifically, Exodus is where our story takes place. And then I did a geographic map, and then I did I don't know what this kind of map is called, but it shows like where like basically like you can see there are cities. So these tall rectangles are the cities. The squares are like the suburbs, and then these little shapes are like the rural areas. So it's like that. I don't know what that kind of map is called. But yeah, so and then just to kind of point out what each country is semi supposed to reflect in real life. Regaio is both a mix of Latin America and Canada. I'm figuring it out. Ophobane is obviously the US. No Mesa is its own thing. I don't even know. Mayang is supposed to be like the Asia of the world, and then Appalate's kind of like the Europe of the world. But I need you to keep in mind that this is just like, it's more of like a geographic, not geographic, it's more like a like cultural ish, like aesthetic. No, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna stop talking before I say something bad. But these are the maps. I made them. Okay. Okay. So the first country is Ophobane. So I think the breakdown for this is Ob and then Phobane, I believe, is the breakdown of the word. So Ob means toward, against, and down, and then Phobane means put to flight or frighten. So that's the meaning of the countries. So it's supposed to, the title is it's supposed to embody fear, okay? That's what the name is supposed to embody. The capital is Fulsker, which I believe is full and then sker. And then, so full is full of, having, characterized by, and then sker is fear, dread, terror, fright. And then the capital is Exodus, which means out of and lack of, and Exodus is also like, it's some government-y term as well that I was like, this actually weirdly fits, but I don't remember what it is, so. It means exclusive distribution, and then I linked the source for what that meant, but I don't remember, so we're gonna find out together right now. It's a document classification level for the US military. A term used for the controlled distribution of military equipment or supplies to designate. Oh, so basically a lot about like control and like stuff. Okay, sure. The size of the country is medium. That was just for my brain. And then there are 13 states. I think the size was I think I wrote this before I drew the map, so I think me saying the size was for my own, when I was drawing it, reference. It's a medium-sized country. There are 13 states, and 13 is a number that symbolizes bad luck and betrayal. I need you to know that the type is based off of, I wrote it in a way where I was like, this is so I can understand what this is. I need you to not think about that. It's going to be inaccurate, okay? The type is going to be inaccurate. It's for my own brain, okay? So I'm calling Ophobane a fascist democracy. Main economy, I have figured it out. Their allies are No Mesa and Mayang, and then they are in essence negative country, obviously, because that's what's holding is set. And then anything with an asterisk is that the alliance shifts as the governments shift across the story. This is their government, not fleshed out very well at all. You can see I'm trying to make it reflect the US, but just not very well at all. I need to work on this a lot. But we have the Department of Essence Security, or DES, and within the DES is the IRTF and the IHFs. Painted in essences is dangerous, and in essences are supposed to be reported by law. The government detains them and claims they're putting them in a community just for in essences, for like, you know, the in essences safety and the safety of people who are like normal. But then in reality, they're running tests on in essences and forcing them to revive other corrupt people. And then history of in essence, anti-in essence sentiment. So I was like, some sort of event needs to happen that causes a law to that causes the law for that requires the essences to be turned over to the government to be put into place. That's the Essence Security Act. I haven't fleshed it out yet. So TBD. Then there's Rogayo. I realize I have to hurry this up because I only have 20 minutes before I gotta go. Maybe I'll just do a little extra today, but I'll have to be quieter because someone in my house has a meeting. So Rogayo means, again, anew, once more, plus I rejoice. Their capital is Paktar, which is an agreement between persons or parties and to fit together, so like unity. And then their capital is, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's either Cephilid or Cephilod, to satisfy or to fill. They are large, they have 5 states. The number 5 represents luck, freedom, curiosity, love, and balance. The type is roughly it's what I think democratic socialism means as someone who doesn't entirely know what that means. I will do more research, don't worry. Their allies are Appalate, Nomesa, Mayang, and Ophobane, but then the Mayang and Ophobane thing is gonna shift. They are in essence positive, and then I had to figure out how their immigration works because I need to know how their immigration works for the story. So in essence, seeking asylum can easily get in. Having your documents makes things easier in the future. People have escaped straight from the Falsker, in essence, housing facilities straight to Rogayo. Normal people need to go through the legal process or have proof of need of asylum. They offer asylum seekers a temporary home, employment assistance, and legal support. So that's what Rogayo is doing. This is all, don't worry about it. Mayang means to change, go, or move. Tight, and also plus tight, painfully constricted, and painful. Their capital is Sutai, which means to seethe and boil and to burn. And their capital is Hatansen, which is to hate and old. So Mayang, I forgot to say, Rogayo represents joy, and then Mayang represents anger. So Mayang, this entire storyline is going to be going through a very big shift in their, like, government and society and stuff. So that's why it's, like, all this. They're large. They have 8 states, which means power, authority, which means power and authority, but also means karma, transformation, and abundance. Okay, foreshadowing. But yeah, they're a fascist dictatorship into a democracy. Again, this is just vibes of. Anyway, main economy is farming and mining. Their allies are Nomesa, Ophobane, and Rogayo, but then their things shift. And then they're in essence -2, in essence positive. They're going through what. Okay, that's kind of spoilers, but they're going through what Ophobane will begin in Act 3. I should have censored that, but spoilers! Okay, anyway. Nomesa, they represent sadness. It means deprived emotion, powerless to act, or to satisfy. Their capital is Skemgelt, which is to cover, plus crime, sin, moral defect, failure of duty. And their capital is Aquenth, which is without and to suffer. So basically, like, I want that to mean kind of like numbness, essentially. So there are 9 states, which means bad luck, pain, but also completion. The way I described it, actually, I don't remember how I described it, so I'm not going to say what I think. I'm not going to say that. Okay, anyway. Their allies are Ophobane, Rogayo, and Appalate, and their main economy is manufacturing. They're in essence positive, but they doesn't allow anyone who comes in to be harmed by Ophobane, but they don't help Ophobane citizens. So they're very like, we will welcome you in, but we aren't gonna help you if you aren't in. You know what I mean? So, like a lot of Democrats in this country. Anyway, that's TVD, that's economy. Okay, Appalate represents disgust. So Appalate means from, like, away from and to detest. The capital is Parain, which is alongside, beside, near, and not, opposite of, and without. So basically saying, like, they are not beside you. Their capital is Pelith, which is to drive and loathsome. So basically that was kind of in my head, it means like they kind of just move on their own and they don't like other people, essentially. They're a medium state, or a medium country. They have 4 states. 4 represent stability, order, and justice. They're a constitutional monarchy. I don't know what I meant by that, guys. Anyway, but their allies are Rogayo and Nomesa, but they kind of lean isolationist as a country. They kind of prefer to do everything more internally than externally, which of course creates its own host of problems for that country, but that country's not a very big concern for this story. They're in essence positive, but they are very, very strict about who they let into the country. So it's very difficult to get in. So then we have Sir Arcos. Sir Arcos is fun. Sir Arcos represents surprise. Sarkos means over, above, and beyond a leader. So basically saying they're beyond a leader. They don't need a head leader like that, like these other countries. They don't have a capital because they're very small. It's one state, and one stands for natural leader, confidence, and power. They are anarchists. There's no central leadership. It is very community-based. The only rule is basically karma. The other countries usually don't dare to cross them, even though they're so small. Their main economy is agriculture through small farms. They're not as technologically advanced as other countries, but they're quite resource-heavy. Their allies are circumstantial. They're more likely to ally with strongly, in essence, positive countries, and they're amazing to be allied with, but will switch on a whim. If they decide they don't like what you're doing, they're moving on. They're, in essence, positive. As long as you fit with their lifestyle, they don't care who you are. So, they're fun. Okay, so that's PowerPoint 2. Now we get to PowerPoint 3, which is where it gets this one's gonna be another hefty one. This is what everyone was waiting for. This is where my babies live. Okay? So that's all the context you need for my children that I'm about to introduce to you. And then again, I do have a fourth PowerPoint about all the settings and plot, but I'm not going to share that because that has spoilers. Everyone, let's take a break. Are we ready? Are we ready for the moment you've all been waiting for? The moment you've been waiting for? George Washington. My characters are actually just all George Washington in various wigs. Okay. We're outgunned, one outmanned, one outnumbered, outplanned. We gotta make it all outstand. Okay. Here are my babies. Here are my children. My little joys and hatreds of my heart. One specific one. These are my babies. I think about them a lot. Every time Birds in New York does a roleplay warm-up question, which is every one of their streams, I answer it for my core four. Okay. I love talking about them. I love talking about the world in general, but these are my babies, okay? These are my children. I birthed them myself. So essentially I split all my characters into the main characters, the secondary characters, the side characters, and then I have a section for Vale, but I haven't filled it out yet, and then a bunch of extras. So the main characters, so this story has dual protagonists. So there are two protagonists, and they are the two main characters. The entire story is going to be told through those two perspectives. Then we have the two secondary characters they're in the story almost essentially as much as the main characters are, but we don't see things through their perspective ever. It's only through the main character's perspective, so that's what makes them a secondary character, if that makes sense. And then we have our side characters, who are like characters important to the story, and then we have Vale, which is going to be the gang. Yay! And then we have the extras, who are needed for the story, but they're not as frequent or important to the plot. They might be more like important for backstory or like general world building, but they're not so much like in the story, you know? So this is my template for myself. So as you can see, none of them have images because I was gonna make them in The Sims, and then EA started being they've always kind of been dumb, but they started being really dumb. So I will not be making them The Sims. I'm waiting for Pair Lives. And then whether or not they're essence or innocence, what their age is, their birthday, and their sign. I don't really know what zodiac signs mean. I have to look them up. So we're not going to worry about that. What their job is, if they're employed, and what their first name and their last name mean, what song I associate with them, and what tarot card I associate with them, and then any additional notes for this. Because for those who didn't know, I am a wannabe tarot girly. I'm not quite there yet. I also haven't had time to pull, but we're gonna get out. I have this nice little deck of tarot cards with the meanings on this. This only has keywords on the bottom. It's not like that's upside down. This only has key meanings, like keywords. It doesn't have the full meanings, but I'm gonna pull this out just so y'all. Notes A is killing me for some reason. That's just so I know. I get rid of the A and then I type there. It's just a habit of mine. Because sometimes if you don't put an A there, it changes your formatting. it's not going to affect the formatting if I didn't put the A there, but it's become a habit of mine. The only issue is all my cards are shuffled right now, so it's going to take me a minute to dig through them, because the major arcana, the tarot cards I associate them with is only major arcana, but I have it all mixed together right now, so you're going to have to bear with me. Okay, so let's get to the main characters. Ah! I'm so excited. Okay, so first we have Gavin. Gavin Lee. He is in essence, okay. He is 20 years old. He, him pronouns. Oh, by the way, the story's set in 2016. I should just clarify that. That's why he was born 1995. The story's set in 2016. So, I don't know why I chose 2016. But I don't even remember what happened in 2016 in real life. But this is my fantasy fictional world, so what happens is what I decide. Anyway, he's 20 years old. He, him, his birthday's November 13th, so he's a Scorpio. Don't remember what that means, but I picked it intentionally, so if you know what that means, then you understand. I don't understand, but I know I picked these intentionally. He's a third-year online Exodus Community College student, so Exodus is the city they live in, and he goes to community college, and he's going to school for computer science. And then he is a runner for Vale. So he is that lower tier that just does the deliveries and delivers messages and whatever. So Gavin means White Hawk, which represents protection, strength, and transition. And then Lee means reason, logic, and plum tree. And plum trees represent transition from challenging to abundant times. His song is Burning Pile by Mother Mother, and his tarot card is the Hermit. The Hermit essentially means, just off the top of my head, it means like basically like self-reflection, like basically taking time for yourself, and like, here we go. Oh, it's right here. Soul searching, introspection, contemplation, wisdom, truth seeking, being alone, inner guidance, and privacy. Those are the keywords. So that is Gavin. So he was born to a single mom, got lucky in the hospital, received a fake bottle from the doctors and nurses. Kronos, his dad, doesn't matter to the story at all. He's not involved at all. I call him Kronos because his mother's name is Rhea. So I call him Kronos. So is it Rhea or Rhea? I should know this. It's my own character. Anyway, lives in an apartment in the poor part of their town. Okay. When he was 15, he ended up in a fight and his bottle was cracked. Luckily, the only person who stuck around and saw was a girl. The girl turned out to be in Vale and helped him out. They became best friends and he joined Vale to help others and make money. His mom suspects he's in Vale and tries to discourage him, but he won't admit it. Not necessarily Vale's a group specifically, but she suspects that he is in a gang, essentially. But he's like not talking to her about it, so. And then I have all their general character arcs, but I censored it because spoilers. Next we have Lila, whose full name is Delilah Arnold. She is in essence turned in essence. Okay, and you'll never guess who she... By the way, this is also a little bit of a romance. Okay. So she's in essence turned in essence by Gavin. Surprise! I'm not going to say exactly how. Well, I think it could kind of piece it together based on some stuff I said, but basically her bottle gets broken and then he saves her. And let me tell you, I realized in the car on the way to work, literally like maybe a month ago, that, or maybe even like 2 weeks ago, I was just driving and I was thinking about my babies as I do. I was thinking about my brain babies as I do. And I suddenly realized like, oh my God, their emotions are connected, which means like, because here's the thing. Gavin won't admit it, but he's a yearner, okay? He won't admit it, but he's a yearner. And I was like, she could feel him yearning for her, but she probably doesn't think it's for her. So she's over here like, I wonder who he like feels this way for, blah, blah, blah. And I literally screamed when I realized that. Like the drama that comes from them being able to feel each other's emotions while they're both like dancing around the fact that they like each other. It's gonna be so good once I eventually get there to that point. Give me a few years. But she's also 20. She, her pronouns. She was born May 30th, and she's a Gemini. Again, I don't know what that means, but I picked it intentionally, so. She's a third year. Okay, this is really funny to me. So the school she attends is called Fulsker University, and I could have done like University of Fulsker, but I went, no. We're doing Fulsker University, so then the abbreviation can be FU, because that's funny. She's a third year FU student. She's studying finance. Not because she wants to. So Delilah, this is the cool thing. I very intentionally picked this name because of this. So Delilah is what her parents call her. She prefers to be called Lila. Delilah means delicate and languishing, while Lila means night or night creature. Do we see what I did there? Okay, I spent a lot of time on all these names. You don't understand how much research went into all of this. Arnold means, her last name means eagle, power, and authority. Her song is Gilded Lily by the Cults, and her tarot card is the Moon, which I will find. Maybe. Give me a second. The moon, off the top of my head, kind of represents like... kind of like, I think it represents like like your instinct and like something about internal something. Listen, I haven't done tarot in a hot minute, and like I said, I'm a beginner, okay? So bear with me here. Watch it be the last card. Where is it? Oh my god, where is it? Oh, found it. The Moon. Illusion, mystery, confusion, secrets, dreams, intuition, fear, anxiety, subconscious, delusion, complexity, and risk. Those are the key words. Okay? So she was born into a wealthy family, but her parents are neglectful. You know, the whole, like, we'll give you everything you need materialistically, but not emotionally. Parents only had kids to appear as a model family, mainly raised by her older brother, Nick. Nick was an innocence, and he was taken by the government when he was 21 and she was 16. The government ripped his fake bottle off while they were taking him, tossing it aside, and Lila's kept it since. She's been going to the Void to find information about Nick. The Void is the bad part of town. That's where all the gang stuff is going on, okay? So that's that. So that's my girl, Lila. Okay, I think that was a card hitting. I heard something and I was like, what? I think that was my card hitting my water bottle. Okay, now we get to our secondary characters. The other half of my core four. Okay, I love these four so much. Okay, first we have Ren Fry. Ren is an essence. She's 21 years old. She, her pronouns. She was born July 27, 1994. She's a Leo. And she's Gavin's bestie, and she's a dealer. So she is the person who does the negotiating and da-da-da-da-da, okay? And her and Gavin are often paired up together because they're besties. So Ren means agility, quick-wittedness, free spirit, and friendliness, while Fry means born free. Her song is Dead Giveaway by Nemesis, and her tarot card is the High Priestess. Upright. Ooh, this reminds me, actually, I need to go back and read the other ones for you. Because the ones that don't specify whether they're right side up or not, the characters experience both sides. Both sides of the coin. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, here's this. Well, I don't need that yet. Okay. So I only read to you the Hermit right side up. So the Hermit reversed is isolation, loneliness, withdrawn, resignation, rejection, distance, and lost your way, and sadness. So Gavin's gonna be going through both sides of the coin, of the card. And then I don't know where my moon card went. Where did I put it? There's no way I just... Where did I put it? This isn't funny. This isn't funny. Where is it? Don't tell me I just shoved it back into the deck randomly. It's starting to look like that's what I did. I think that's what I did. Uh-oh. Now why would I do that? Hello card ASMR while I look. And so I can get my voice a break. Oh, I found it. The Moon reversed. Overcoming fear, clarity, finding truth, understanding, repressing emotions, inner confusion, and insecurities. So Lala's gonna be going through both sides of that. Okay. And I once again just shoved it randomly back into the deck. Hopefully I don't need it again. Okay, but Red is specifically the High Priestess upright. So she is intuition, sacred knowledge, subconscious, spirituality, high morals, trust yourself, wisdom, hidden, and mystery. Wow. Those are her keywords. She's an orphan, of course. I'm an orphan god. I wish there was... Okay, enough with the Hamilton references. The orphanage she lived in received little funding, and the staff weren't great. They weren't awful, but they weren't familial. So again, very much like giving you what you need materialistically, or like to survive. Like we're feeding you. You have a blanket on your bed. I'm not gonna like tuck you into bed though. You know what I mean? Like, I'll give you a bed, I'm not gonna tuck you into bed. Ended up joining Vale at 13 to make money. Found family fluff. I love found family fluff. Met Gavin at 15 and recruits him. And then we have Alistair Pace. They are in Essence. They are 20 years old. They them pronouns. They were born January 20th, so they're an Aquarius. Again, I don't know what that means, but I picked it intentionally. So all my astrology girlies out there. They are Lila's best friends. They're a second year FU student. They're studying marketing. I'm gonna giggle every time I see that. Alistair means defender of the people. Pace means peaceful one. Their song is Brown Shoes from Sing Street. I personally specifically listened to the Broadway cast recording, if that affects anything. And their tarot card is the Chariot, both sides. The Chariot essentially means... This one I know. This one I do know, because it's the card of my husband, Jean-Baptiste, from Regulus Dark Age, okay? So the Chariot essentially means, like, forward momentum, pushing forward, continuing forward. That's what means right side up, and then reversed is, like, getting stuck, essentially. But let me see if I can find it. Up here. So, the Chariot, upright. Movement, progress, action, integration, determination, willpower, control, direction, departure, courage, and victory. And then reversed, the keywords are lack of direction, opposition, obstacle, no movement, lack of control, arrogance, carelessness, and self-discipline. So, that's the card that represents Alistair. They were the most normal and least traumatized out of everyone. Literally normal childhood. They have supportive, loving parents. They were raised well, you know? Good household. They were raised in an upper middle class household with their two parents. They were a bit of an outcast in school and kept to themselves. I put question marks next to that because I was reading that and I was like, is that what I wanted? I don't know why I wrote that, but I'll figure it out. And then met Lila at FU. They took the same business generals, so like any general courses for their business degree, they took them together. They met Alistair's freshman year, Lila's sophomore year. They tried to be the group's voice of reason, only got mixed up in everything because of Lila becoming an essence. So basically, they're the only ones who come in the least traumatized, and they get very traumatized from this experience, you know what I mean? Okay. Not very, actually, but their eyes are definitely opened. Okay. Okay, then we get to our side characters. These are the three most important side characters. First we have Miss Rhea Lee. She is an essence. She is 42 years old. Her birthday is October 26th. She's a Taurus. She is Gavin's mom, and she's a waitress at restaurant. No joke, that is restaurant in Chinese. I was like, I need to name this restaurant, or at least I think it is. I don't know what else it would be. That's a restaurant in Chinese, because basically the restaurant she works at is supposed to be like a Chinese Taiwanese restaurant, but like it's like Mayonnaise, I guess, but it's supposed to be like Taiwanese essentially. But then at this point I was so fatigued of like naming things that I was like, because at that point I was just calling it restaurant in brackets, and I was like, what if I actually just called it restaurant? So the restaurant's called Restaurant. And that's funny to me. Anyway, I named her after the Titaness Rhea, who is the mother of the gods of it's the mother of like Zeus and like Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, Hestia, like all them. Hestia, Hera. I think that's all of them. Sorry if I'm missing anyone, but I named her after the Titaness. And then again, Lee means logic, reason, plum tree, which symbolizes transition from challenging to abundant times. Her song is Coffee by Biba Doobie, and her tarot card is the Empress Upright, which I will find the card, but it essentially means like mother is mothering. The Empress card essentially means mother is mothering. It means like nurturing and like just like, I don't know, in my mind I kind of read it as like the feminine power of motherhood, I guess, if we wanted to get, I guess. I don't know. I can find it. Oh, okay, I'm gonna need this card later, so I'm just gonna pull it out now while it's here in my hand. Oh, I might, or maybe, I think I need both those cards. Okay. Pull it out. The sun, the sun, the sun, the sun, the sun. No, that's the Queen of Pentacles. Oh, someone is, oh, maybe not. Not that, sorry. Don't mind me. I'm talking to myself. Ooh, so what is this? Okay, pull that out. Where? Here she is. Here's Mother Empress. Okay. Oh, and my favorite card. Okay. The Empress is not my favorite. I was looking at a different card. Okay, so. The keywords for the Empress are mother, fertility, pregnancy, abundance, nurturing, good parenting, development, growth, action, and nature. So that's the card that represents Rhea. So Kronos, again, he doesn't matter. Was her abusive ex-boyfriend. He cut her off from her support system. When she became pregnant with Gavin, he left. Her parents passed before she met him. She had no way to contact any of her old friends. She bounced around a few jobs, had Gavin. They got her job at restaurant. The owners helped her take care of Gavin while she worked. So Gavin was that kid in the corner of the Chinese restaurant doing his homework. That was Gavin. Gavin was the kid in the corner doing his homework in the booth in the corner or whatever, you know. That was Gavin at the Chinese restaurant. That's how you know restaurant is good. That's how you know restaurant is good, because Gavin was in the corner sitting there doing his homework. When the owners retire, their single, hint hint, daughter will take over. And the owners have also been trying to get Ray and Grace together for years. And that very, like, older parent way of being like, oh, you know, like, you too, like, oh, you know, Grace actually can cook really well. Have you tried her, like, you know, like, kind of like doing that whole thing, you know? Anyway. And then we have Nick, who, his parents call him Nicholas. He prefers to be called Nick. Arnold, he's in essence, 25 years old. He, him. His birthday was April 12th. He's an Aries. I don't know what that means, but I picked it intentionally again. He's Lila's brother, and he was a political science major and activist. He was a political science major, is an activist. Nicholas means people of victory. And then Arnold, I think Nick is kind of more chill about being called Nicholas. He's kind of like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, sure, you can call me that. That's my name. He prefers Nick, but like, he'll still answer if you call him Nicholas. Like, you know, that kind of situation. So people of victory. And then Arnold, Eagle, Power, Authority. His song is Soldier Poet King by the Oh Hellos, and his tarot card is Strength Upright, which I saw at some point. Strength Upright is what it sounds like. By the way, it essentially it means what it sounds like. I don't know why I'm looking through my cards like this. Are we having fun, guys? Are we having fun? Is this a good time? You're having a great time? Perfect. Oh, here. Okay. You can see my insanity on paper, or not on paper, on in a PowerPoint, in a slideshow. Okay. You also do tarot, so this is very exciting. Ah, us tarot girlies. No, you should. This is definitely. I took this of assigning a tarot card to each character. I took that from Barnes in New York, and it is a great way to kind of like have some sort of like. It's a really interesting way to connect your character. It's an interesting thing to connect your characters to, because like as you can see, all my characters are connected to a song and a tarot card, and it kind of helps me like get their vibe, if that makes sense, and their feelings. So highly recommend doing that with your characters. But this is Strength Upright. The keywords are courage, passion, subtle power, persuasion, influence, inner strength, focus, and compassion. Very, very Nick. Okay. He studied politics and began speaking out against the government, was taken by the government at 21. That was around 4 years ago. It hits 5 years during Act 1 of the story. And he was forced to give up half his soul to Dr. Sinclair. So sorry about... Okay, listen. In my defense, Alice... Oh, you have a whole playlist for your OCs. One has 40-something songs in it. I don't know how you managed to choose a single song. It's because I don't listen to that many songs. I tend to listen to the same few songs, just on repeat. So That's how I'm able to kind of boil them down into the vibe of one song. But then my playlist, I have one playlist for this entire thing, and it doesn't have that many songs. I just have all the character songs in it, and then songs that like kind of represent the overall story of like being angry at your situation, but also the romance, like that kind of stuff. I can tell you what songs are in my playlist once we're done here. But real quick, I just want to say, Alice, I didn't know about Date Everything when I don't think Date Everything was even out when I was writing this, so Sinclair, I didn't know was a sync, okay? This is different. But now it kind of adds an interesting touch to why the Date Everything creators names the sync Sinclair, once you find out the meaning of the name. So speaking of Sinclair, not the sync, the man who is not in Date Everything. You do not want to date this man, actually. So Damien Sinclair, he is an essence turned in essence. He's 38 years old, he, him, and he's the head facilitator of the Fulsker IHF. So he's like the head honcho at the Fulsker in Essence housing facility. I did notice the name a hot minute ago. So Damien means to tame, while Sinclair means pure and renowned. So in my head, that's like cleanliness, you know? His song is Hold Them Down from Epic. I will say he is more specifically the first verse of Epic where they're talking about cutting Telemachus up and tossing him in the ocean. He's more like that. The rest of the song doesn't quite apply to him. It's more specifically that verse about Telemachus. Okay? His tarot card is the Devil, which I grabbed here, both sides, because here's the interesting thing. I will read the keywords for you, and then I will explain why he's both sides of this card. So the keywords for the Devil right side up are shadow self, attachment, excess, addiction, temptation, destructive behavior, materialism, and dependency. And then the reverse is detachment, freedom, restoring control, releasing limiting beliefs, and overcoming addiction. So why is he both sides? So the Devil right side up is what Damien Sinclair is. That is what he is. That's the kind of guy he is. He thinks he's the devil reversed. Okay? So that's why he's both. He is the receiver of Nick's soul. I had to censor some stuff. He's a freak and scary and weird. He still has standards though. Like, he isn't homophobic or anything. He hates everyone equally. That's my notes on him. And he's bald, by the way. In my head, he's a bald white man. So, not that there's anything wrong with being a bald white man. I have an uncle who's a bald white man, but that's just a detail you can have about Damien Sinclair. And I will say, I was talking in my Discord, I was like, there's a crack ship that like a fandom would totally do that I hate. And I'm just gonna say right now, if I were to form a fandom around this, I am telling you someone somewhere is gonna do a crack ship between Sinclair and Nick, and I hate it, but it would happen. As someone who is very aware of fandom culture, that would happen. And I don't like it. And I hate that I realized that. He's bald, and he's torturing people who have hair. He is! He is bald. He's bald, and he's torturing people who have hair! That's true! Oh my god, I should add that in. I probably won't. I'll probably forget to. And this is all blank, because this is all blank because I haven't made the people yet. Okay? That was something I was supposed to do and I got busy. He's bald. He's bald and he's torturing people who have hair. Okay, so now we have our extras. So these are people who are, like, I need them for world building. They might show up here and there in the story, but they aren't, like, integral to the plot. Like, if they weren't there, the story would be a little emptier and a little sadder, but it's not going to affect the current plot of the story, if that makes sense. So first we have Bo Chung Dai, or his like Americanized name is Bo. He is an essence, He is 68 years old, he, him, and he is restaurant owner. He owns restaurant. Bo Chung means great success, and Bo means to live. Dai is to support, or like Dai is like to support, and then his song is Drive It Like You Stole It from Sing Street. Again, I specifically listened to the Broadway cast recording. I don't know if that changes anything, but and then his tarot card is the World Upright. If I can find it in my piles. My piles. My piles. Yeah, Drive It Like You Stole It is his whole vibe. He's very carpe diem. This is your life, you can go anywhere. That's a lyric from the song. Drive it like you stole it. Very like grab hold of your own narrative and do the thing. That's very Bo. It's not in this pile. I have to check the other pile. I have 2 piles. Okay, this pile's... I now have 3 piles. Technically 4, because I have the cards I pulled out. Where's... Hello? It's not in here. Where'd my world go? I think I went past it. He's bald. Oh, here. Okay. The world. I have to cover that part up for... I'm now realizing I think I just showed things that I probably should have covered up, but it's fine because you can barely see it on these cards. Oops. Anyway. It isn't real. It isn't real, okay? TOS, Twitch, it's not real. It's a drawing. And it's just the human body anyway. So the world. He is specifically the world upright. So the keywords for that are completion, accomplishment, wholeness, attainment, fulfillment, travel, arriving, and celebration of life. So he is, you know, your grandpa who gives you great advice. He has lived his life. He is happy where he is. He's like about ready to retire, honestly. Like he's, yeah, you know, that's him. Does most of the front of house and administrative work, which Rhea helps with. So a lot of the like taking orders, boopity booping in the cashier machine. Honestly, very inspired by an actual restaurant owner in my life that I knew. Takes care of a lot of like bills and stuff, you know, all that. And then we have his wife Irene. So Irene is the Americanized version of her name, which is Irene, which is like Love Cloud, essentially. Oh, it says it there. Love Cloud, Chung. So she's in essence, she is 66 years old, she's also a restaurant owner. Restaurant owner. So yeah, her name means Love Cloud in Chinese, but then Irene means peace. And then Chung is schedule and order. Her song is Rises the Moon by Liana Flores, and her tarot card is the Sun. The sun, the sun, the sun, the sun. Which is one of my fave cards. One of my fave cards. If I can find it. It's in one of my 3 piles. Oh. Okay, the sun. Upright. Positivity, pleasure, happiness, vitality, fun, joy, warmth, celebration, success, rebirth, and all is well. So again, that older person in your life who's like, I'm good, I'm in a good place, I've lived my life, I've succeeded, I've gotten to where I need to go, and let me give you some advice and also some warm hugs. That's basically the 2 of them. So, does most of the cooking and shopping for the restaurant. Grace mainly helps her. Who is Grace? Grace Dogmei died said that without any tones at all, but whatever. She's in essence, she's 42 years old, she, her. She works at restaurant. I didn't pick her birthday yet, but I have the year because I had to do math for that. She is Bo and Irene's daughter. Grace means charm, goodness, and generosity. Dongmei is plum blossom, so beauty, strength, and perseverance. And it dies to support. Again, her song is Home by Edith Whiskers, and her tarot card is Temperance Upright. So Temperance is very about balance. It's all about balance. If I can find it, if I can find it. Okay. So temperance is about balance, harmony, moderation, patience, being sensible, purpose, and finding meaning. So again, we are huge Rhea Grace shippers in this household, okay? She is very, very supportive of Rhea and Gavin, occasionally flirts very lightly with Rhea, but doesn't push. She understands that Rhea's healing from her last relationship while being a single mom, and she's happy to wait for her even if the time never comes. So just very emotionally balanced and intelligent and just an angel, frankly. Now we get into the not angels. So first we have Harriet Arnold. She's in essence, she's 46 years old, she, her, she's Lila's mom, and she's a stay-at-home mother. Harriet means estate ruler. Arnold is Eagle Power Authority. Her song is Prima Donna by Marina. And her tarot card is the Emperor reversed. So here's the Emperor reversed. So her card means domineering, controlling, rigid, stubborn, tyrant, lack of discipline, recklessness, and absence of leadership. So she married into the Arnold family because she wants to marry rich, which honestly kind of good for her, I guess. Doesn't care about anything other than her image, the family's image, and maintaining a wealthy lifestyle. Micromanages almost everything to maintain their image. So, yeah, that kind of mom, you know? And then there's Edward, who was full of spoilers, so I had to hide it. Not because he himself as a character is integral to the story, but the notes I had about him contained a lot of spoilers, so I had to censor it. He's an essence. He's a 50 on essence. He's 50 years old. He, him, Lila's father, CEO of Arnold and Company, financial consulting firm. Do we understand why Lila's getting a finance degree now? Edward means rich guard. Arnold means Eagle Power Authority. His song is Welcome to the Moulin Rouge from Moulin Rouge the musical, but specifically the Duke's part, which is him singing about how much he loves money. And how, while love is great, it's not money. That's like basically that whole part. His tarot card is the Hierophant Upright. Those words are conventional, tradition, union, religion, institutions, beliefs, conformity, spiritual wisdom, seeking counsel, and education. His is more the like conventional, traditional bit of that. Next we have more of my angels. Okay, you can tell who my favorites are. Every time I look at chat, I just see he's bald. Okay, so we have Everett Pace. Everett is an essence, unessence. He is 52 years old, he, him. He is Alistair's father, and he's a video game character designer. Because I was like, you need to be a nerd. I need a nerd, and it's gonna be you. So he is a video game character designer. Everett means brave as a wild boar, and Pace means peaceful one. His song is Open Arms from Epic the Musical, and his card is the Star Upright, which is another favorite of mine. I don't know where it is. So the star, the Star Upright, yeah, I should have been covering some bits up earlier for TOS, but it'll probably be fine. The Star Upright is hope, faith, purpose, renewal, spirituality, good omen, rejuvenation, healing, and positivity. We love Everett. He's a little confused, but he's got the spirit. So he's very like, he'll be like, yes, my child, Alistair, they would love this scent, you know, like that. Instead of being like, my son Alistair, he would love this set because Alistair was a male at birth. Anyway, but yeah, so he's very like once Alistair was like, I would like if you use they, them. He's been like, yes, my child, Alistair, they would love this scent. Because in my head, Alistair loves like perfumes and scents and stuff and like mixing them just right, and they always smell good. They always smell good. Always. Anyway, taught Alistair not to take from anyone. The whole no one can make you feel inferior without your consent thing. Okay? And then finally, I think this is the last one. Yes, finally we have Quinn Pace, who is on Essence. She's 53 years old, she, her, she is Alistair's mother, and she's a painter. She does like illustrations, murals, etc. Quinn means leader and wise, Pace means peaceful one. Her song is Dream for You from Sing Street. That is specifically a Sing Street the musical song. That is not in the movie. And then her card is the Magician Upright. I don't know where that is. It's not in this pile. Maybe it's he's bald. He's bald and he's torturing people with hair. Guys, we're almost hitting 2 hours. That's okay. I might have to cut my other streams this week short, or else I'm gonna get in trouble for using all the data in the house. The Magician. This is also Snow's card from Royal Stargate. Anyway, so the magician means manifestation, action, power, creation, self-confidence, clarity, willpower, skill, and creativity. So that is her. So Alistair came out to her first, and she wasn't surprised. She was like, I love you and I always support you. I'm not surprised, basically. She taught Alistair all about individuality, self-love, and loving others for who they are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and gentle friends, my mouse turned off. That is 3 of the 4 PowerPoints I have, but I'm not going to show you the 4th because that has spoilers. So we will not be talking about that. So again, that is, in essence, that is my world, that is my brain, baby. In my mind, again, I see this as a webcomic, but I can't draw. But that is a problem for later down the road. That is not for me to worry about right now when I don't even have all the characters made. Or the plot fleshed out. But yeah, I guess let me know your thoughts. I don't know. And if you too would like to talk about your OCs, join the Discord. Anyways, I'm losing my voice and I need to pee. So I'm gonna go. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tangent. I hope it was good background noise if you're just chilling or something. And I will see you all. And then, you know, once we hit 170, I'll do another yap sesh. Except that one's gonna be, I'm kind of scared for this one. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Because someone in my Discord said to, so I'm gonna do it anyway. But I will see you all on Friday for Date Everything. Don't forget to add the bald line to the PowerPoint. Oh my gosh, you're so right. I'll have to remember to do that. Okay. But I'll see you all Friday for Date Everything. And then Saturday, I'm going to be recording a video live. Minus the intro. I'm not going to record the intro live because that's embarrassing. But we're going to basically be touring every single one of my builds I've done on stream so I could turn it into a YouTube video. So I have like an archive of all my stream builds somewhere for when I switch over from Sims to Paralives. So I will see you all on Friday. Bye-bye. Don't go bald. Don't, or if you are bald, don't be like Sinclair. Bye.